and welcome to Book 5, Chapter 3 of You Should Be Reading. I seem to be on a little bit of a roll here because today I'd like to talk to you about not one, not two, but three books, three novellas. And it just so happens they are also cyberpunk because they are the Monster Slayer novella, the Monitor novella, and Exodus novella, put out by Fantasy Flight Games for their Android Netrunner universe. Now, Monster Slayer. Monster Slayer is done by Daniel Lovat. I'm not sure how you pronounce that. Daniel Lovat Clark. And it is all about the wonderful lady here on the cover, you can see. That is Reina Roja, uh, the Red Queen, one of the hacker identities in Android Netrunner, the card game that I'm quite a big fan of. And this is all about her. And it is one of the, I would put this, despite the fact that I am a huge Reina Roja fan, I love the entire concept of the character. Uh, Out of the three, this would be the second favorite. Uh, but it is interesting. She is a veteran of the war on Mars. She was in the drone operations center. Uh, she piloted drones up on Mars. And I'm pretty sure she has some form of PTSD because her character, uh, as is portrayed in the book, is very taciturn, very paranoid. There's always constant thoughts in her mind about the enemy, but the enemy is never really strictly defined. She does quite a lot of hacking, taking down big corps, looking for them, and she gets on to Wayland. And in this particular book, she ends up finding a bit of information about a Project Vulcan, which deals with underground fracking and the fact that they know that if this project proceeds, it's going to very likely cause a tsunami, which will kill millions of people. But they're going to do it anyway because they're going to get money. It's one of those things. So she goes and tries to get the information, tries to get it going, uh, shut it down, find the people responsible, etc., etc. Uh, it's a very, very slim book, as you can see. Each one is only about, I'd say, yeah, about 100 pages. So not very long. And it's a very interesting story, telling a snippet. It's not even a full story. It's only like a slice of the life of this particular character and how she goes through and does some fun stuff. There's a whole chess metaphor because that's how she envisions the digital world when she's hacking. It's a series of chessboards and chess pieces and their movements all planned and laid out. It's very interesting. I liked this book a lot for the character as well as all the fun stuff in it. Now, we're not going to go to my favorite book of the three. We're going to go to the most recent one that I've read, Exodus by Lisa Farrell. Exodus is all about a young a clone that is also a hacker. And again, one of the identities that you can play as, Ken Express Tenma. And the fact that he used to be a courier clone for Jinteki, somehow managed to break out of his conditioning and is now a hacker and living his own life off the grid from Jinteki. Well, he gets a job to take a package from point A to point B. And the package is another clone. But that clone, he ends up finding out, is doesn't know she's a clone. Because that clone is a clone of Miranda Rhapsody, a huge pop star, media idol, movie star, just one of those big celebrities that everybody knows. And she doesn't realize she's a clone, but he manages to convince her of it over the course of the book. She comes to accept it. So We have one clone picking up another clone to escort her to someplace, uh, what he believes is safety. And in pursuit is a third clone, Caprice Nisei, the clone police officer with psychic abilities that Jinteki is loaning to the NAPD. So there's some fun stuff happening there with how they have to make a run, how the the three different personalities, three different unique clones, all not exactly not exactly strictly towing the line, because you got on one end of the spectrum you have Miranda Rhapsody, doesn't know she's a clone, believes she's a human, doesn't really act like a clone either, acts a lot like a human. In the middle you have Ken Tenma Express, who knows he's a clone, has broken free of his programming, still feels the pull of it, but is able to resist it. And then you have Caprice Nisei, knows she's a clone, knows her secrets, is loyal to the other clones of her that are still in the vats that she has a psychic connection with. So she doesn't want anything bad to happen to them. So her loyalty to Jinteki is kind of enforced. But she's also an NAPD officer and wants to do that job to the best. And her job as an NAPD officer and her role as a Jinteki clone don't always line up. So she's a slave to her programming, but still is trying to push those boundaries some. Very, very interesting. I've always liked Caprice Nisei. I've always liked Jinteki as a whole, as a corp entity in this particular world. Uh, Again, only about 100 pages. They're very slim books. It only took me just 2 days reading it at work to read one of these, uh, just on my lunch breaks. So they're very, very slim. And then we have Monitor by Leigh Alexander. Now, Monitor is a book written by Leigh Alexander, of course, who is I believe right now, wife of Quentin Smith, somebody on the Shut Up and Sit Down forums, and one of the men behind Shut Up and Sit Down as a whole. Uh, it was his video with him and Matt Lees, that made me make the decision to go and buy Netrunner, because they did a playthrough of a game, a let's play of a game, A Hand of Netrunner, and I'd been interested in the game, but I wasn't sure if I wanted to shell out the money. And then I saw this playthrough, and I really liked it. Um, and Leigh Alexander has done reviews and whatnot on their website as well over the years. So when I found out she was doing a book, I was quite interesting. Monitor is all about NBN, the news media megacorp that controls pretty much all information. Uh, and young, uh, three young people who managed to stumble across a pad, a personal access device, basically a tablet, but a pad belonging to one of the NBN executives that still has codes to their servers, and they try and hack into it. And in response to this, they get tagged, which is something that happens in the game. Uh, and because they get tagged, NBN manages to find out almost everything about them, and then proceeds to use the fact that they have signed agreements in order to use NBN services. And because of where they work, they signed an agreement that they would be monitored. So NBN puts them on television, basically, as a new reality program, calling them desperate young slacktivists of New Angeles. And it really highlights the division of privacy and media, and how fast public opinion can turn on you, how fast you can go from being a nobody to a somebody. Really, really interesting. Jackson Howard, the name off one of the cards, anyone who plays Netrunner will recognize, is in here, as well as a couple others are in here as well. And I didn't think Jackson Howard could get creepier than he was on the cards. I was wrong because Leigh Alexander really makes him creepy. I quite enjoyed it. And again, only about 100 pages. Each book, each little novella has 8 pages in the back that just highlight and describe certain things of the world. The World of Android book, which I have, is one of the, does the same thing. It's a big encyclopedia thing that shows a lot about the world. These are similar in that vein, only little snippets and new things as well. So I'm quite happy. And the ending, I'm not going to spoil the ending for this book. I am not going to spoil the ending because it is an amazing ending. I absolutely loved it. It was perfect. Absolutely perfect with the tone of the book as a whole. It was wonderful. So, that's it for this episode of You Should Be Reading. As always, if you like what I'm doing, please give that like button a tap. Give that subscribe button a tap as well if you haven't already, so you can be kept apprised of when I do new videos. Ring the bell as well, because that helps with notifications, I believe. And throw a comment in the comment section. Have you read any of the Android books? What did you think of them? Have you been thinking of picking up the novellas? If so, you should. They're amazing little books. Some might find them a little bit costly, perhaps, because these were, I think, about $10 to $12 each for me. But as somebody who is a super fan, total super fan of Android and that whole universe, I was more than happy to shell it out. Otherwise, yeah, do all that and leave a comment in the comment section. I think I already said that, but if I didn't, I just did. So do all that, and until next time, my friends, remember, you should be reading Monitor, Monster Slayer, and Exodus by Monitor by Leigh Alexander, Monster Slayer by Daniel Lovatt Clark, Exodus by Lisa Farrell, and all of that good stuff. And I'll see you next time.